Welcome to the Unfiltered Truth segment. You have an attendance problem because you created one. Let's go straight to the ugly part of it, which is the industries that have an environment that's basically, well, for lack of a better term, miserable. It could be construction, it could be shipyards, it could be anything. Any of these industries where they have no kind of mitigation. If it's hot and muggy, then you're out hot and muggy, and they go, here's some water breaks. If it's cold, it's huddled by a fire or a stupid heating station, or here's some gloves that are useless and they don't actually do anything, but they go, well, we provided PPE. No, you didn't. You didn't at all. You provided the basic drivel level of anything to go, see, we did something. That's pathetic. And it really boils down to the 1960s boomer nostalgia martyrdom. Now, I'm not attacking the generation. There are plenty of, boomers that are like, this was crap and we shouldn't have had to put up with it. I like those people. Same thing with Gen X. The ones that go, this is crap and we shouldn't have had to put up with it. There are millennials like me who have the same thing. This is crap and we shouldn't have to put up with it. But we have both sides. We do accountability on both sides. It's not one side or the other that's at fault. Both sides have an issue. There's the side that doesn't want to do anything at all. They just, want to, mooch off the government or not do any kind of job. And, the younger generation seems to have this obsession with being pretty on the internet, which technically we millennials started that. Go figure. But, some of those environments treat it like you don't have the grit for the job, or you need to tough it out, which is a phrase I hate. And if it's hot and muggy, the solution isn't you can take an extra water break. That's not a solution. That is a Band-Aid made out of Scotch tape that's half shredded. That's not a solution. That's we're not going to invest in anything because quarterly profits, but then you complain that people don't show up to work. As though people are just ungrateful, selfish brats who won't like having a paycheck, to the glory to the company, hallelujah, amen, all that, nonsense, which that's a fair thing to it. There are unfortunately managers that treat it like you need to be thankful to suffer. We had to do it, so you have to also. You need to earn your stripes, put your time in, get that shovel, dig in the dirt, and, hurrah to the grind, because if we had to do it too, then so should you. How about let that crap go? Quit marinating in your suffering nostalgia. You're treating this martyrdom like it's some sort of badge of honor. My question is, why would you want people to go through that? Well, my suffering needs to mean something. Aren't you the example of that? Everyone else should have to suffer too. Why? Why? Why does other people have to, going through that have to be the only requirement that somehow validates for you? Why don't you have the, the spine to go, I shouldn't have had to go through that? Well, my identity is tied in that. Your identity shouldn't have been tied in that. Go discover who you are. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. But to expect other people to just tough it out, if you're in states where it gets really, really cold and, someone's wearing welding gloves and they're touching really cold metal, and then you kind of giggle at them because their fingers hurt. And like, he's just a big baby. He can't handle it. Your fingers hurt. That's not a rub some dirt on it or chop your fingers off and, just rah, tough it out. No, that's not what that is. That's your body telling you that something's not right. Well, here's some hand warmers. Really? Tell me you don't care about your workforce without telling me you don't care about your workforce. But then you have these, safety toolbox talks or whatever they're called, where you're preaching safety. That is called lip service because you're not doing anything different. You're ready to write someone up for violating any kind of policy, but any equipment that you provide or the working conditions are still crap. And you treat people like they're unreliable, and you're enforcing attendance policies like they should be grateful and willing to sacrifice themselves for the job when you don't even pay well. Two, you don't listen to anything anybody tells you because of your pride, which legacy management is a disease right now. A lot of them probably need to retire, but they're too petrified of retiring because they don't want to lose their pension or they won't get another job like that. If an acquisition happens or if any new management takes over, because it happens all the time everywhere, they suddenly get important. They suddenly get busy and make sure that they look like they're essential. And if you notice, they do this right afterwards. You had all this time to do this. Now suddenly you're important. Really? But you couldn't bother to, change any requirements. Well, it's part of the job. It's not part of the job. You've kept it that way because you really don't care. You could invest in better stuff, but why would you when you're going to shriek and scream Mayday, Mayday to the stock price? It's absurd. It's really ridiculous. Oh, there's smoke from my air freshener. Sorry. That it shouldn't be a thing. And we need to stop pushing this whole shared suffering mentality. I spent 20 years on medication for mental illness diagnosis, bipolar. At the time, it was called Asperger's, but now it's ASD, autism spectrum disorder, and ADHD and whatnot. And I've just put on medication. I spent 20 years of my life on that stuff, like different medications over the course of the 20-year period. If I applied that same logic, then I would say every child at the age of 7 needs to start on medication so I feel validated in what I went through. They need to suffer too. That way my suffering meant something. You know what I tell people? Don't put your kids on that crap. Talk to a doctor first. Of course, I'm not a doctor. I'm not, giving any medical advice. I personally would say don't put your kids on that crap. That's my opinion. That's my personal view because I went through hell on that stuff. It messed me up, and I still have to deal with the consequences of that today. I don't turn around and preach every child needs to be on it because my suffering needs to be validated by somebody else's. My response is I don't want anyone else going through that. That's horrible. And to have the position that other people need to suffer through that makes me go, that's not right. I mean, maybe you need some therapy. There's nothing wrong with therapy. If you need to talk to someone to work through your baggage, hey, go for it. Go get a therapist. Talk to them, vent to them. There's nothing wrong with that. If you need that, go for it. Utilize it. It's there. There are plenty of people willing to say, hey, I'm an ear. Lay it all out. Go for it. That's an excellent avenue or a trusted friend, whoever, to just pour out whatever this resentment is. Because maybe the resentment turns into, I push this on other people because I dealt with it. Nobody vouched for me and I'm cranky and angry about it. That's completely understandable. That is completely valid. If you really want to come out and say, this sucked, I'm pissed off, and I'm angry, and I don't think anyone cares, so I'm not going to care either, that's the truth. But let's not bring it into the workplace to go, tough it out like I did, have the grit. No, change the environment. You have constant cycling out, and you're going, we don't know what to do. But the moment the situation or the solution, is mentioned, it's treated like, oh, we're not doing that. Well, then what are you going to do? A fan and a water break and 6 changes of clothing? Really? You really can't do better than that. The stock price is just so important that people leaving, which is costing you probably tens of thousands of dollars. Actually, it's probably hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I'm probably hitting the number small. That's not more important than changing the work environment, which would technically be a one-time upfront cost with residual maintenance cost. That's not going to cost thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars unless you run stuff into the ground, which a lot of these places do. They drive their equipment into the ground, break it, and they go, well, what do you want us to do? Here's another Band-Aid. Because that's an effective business solution. Band-Aid everything and make sure that the company limps along for the sake of stock prices, which is ridiculous. But it's just a never-ending circle. Fix the business method. You want people to have better productivity, better attitudes, better attendance. Maybe fix the environment. Maybe it's the elements. Maybe it's you have people in management who shouldn't be in management. Maybe it's you got workers that are not a good fit. Find the problem, address it, and fix it. Sometimes you've got people who are in roles that are not their good fit. So fix it. Sometimes you have equipment that's garbage or that's wrong for the job. Fix it. Sometimes you need to train people better. Sometimes the process you're training people on is crap. Fix it. It's not some new idea. It's not a profound new theory nobody thought of. It's very simple. It's just that you don't want to fix it. You'd rather talk about it in meetings and then do nothing. Well, fix it. It's not hard to do. You just need to step up to the plate and do it. And if you don't know what the biggest issue is, which I really don't believe, you're just ignorant of it. The very top might be ignorant of it, but that's the fault of the people below who are not giving the right information, and the fault at the top for treating that like it's some kind of treason. Go straight to the bottom of the floor. Ask people, how is this environment treating you? Are you taken care of? Are you well? Do you enjoy it here? Invite criticism. Now, it would be my method that I would start talking individually with people, and when they have enough trust to tell me the truth, I would pull in management, share the truth with them. But then I would take it a step further to push open door. I would, do like an open forum on it where you can voice out loud your concerns, and management would stay behind, like they'd stay behind me or whoever, and they wouldn't talk. They're not there to talk. They're not there to justify. They're not there to have an opinion or a say on the matter. They're there to be present and to listen. So that way, what changes is people understand I can say what I really think, and I'm not going to get immediately fired because they didn't like it. In my methods, if someone voiced that concern in management was like, you're not a good culture fit, you're fired, and I had the authority to do anything, my thing would be to go pack your bags, you're done. You just kicked someone out who voiced a legitimate issue and you didn't like it, so they're gone. Well, then you're gone too. You can go pack your bags. That's not how you treat people. Leadership's job is to say, what are the pain points? Well, it's too gosh dang hot. Okay. What would help? Does the water breaks help? A little bit, but really no. We need something to cool us. Okay. Do you have any suggestions? Do you have any ideas? You're just letting them voice. Maybe they say misting fan, or I've heard of this equipment called a cooling vest. Okay. Do you know anything about these? And then go look into it. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to fix attendance points, fix the environment. Sometimes the environment is the attendance policy is just too stinking rigid, which is technically another point. No follow attendance, just point to everything. That's absurd. Just point up attendance policy. Really? We can't modify that. If you wrote the policy, you can modify it. That is technically your job to fix it. If someone brings in a doctor's note and you still give them a point, well, then what the hell was the doctor's note? To let us know it was a medical thing. It was meant to excuse the absence. Genius. Well, we don't do that. That's exactly why you have this problem. Because you don't do that, which is ridiculous. I know I'm being blunt. I know I'm being unfiltered with it, and I'm probably pissing off a lot of people. But it just goes back to my main statement. You're not taking care of your people. You're so obsessed with policy and rules that you don't really care about your own workforce, and you wonder why you have such a high turnover rate and you can't attract anyone. The solutions are there and present. You just don't like them. What you would like is here's jeans on Friday and pizza, then everybody suddenly wants to do 5 weeks of mandatory Saturdays and overtime as a thank you. No. Take care of your people. It's very, very simple. And if you don't know how to approach that, come talk to me, reach out to me. I will tell you from both sides because I've been at the bottom. I've seen how that is. I'll tell you, I'll guide you through it. It's not hard to do. And you can absolutely get a much better retention rate, much better positive workforce. And if you take care of your people, they will bend over backwards to take care of you. It's a beautiful thing when you take care of your people. It really is. Please, like, share and subscribe. I always appreciate people sharing what I do. Comment, reach out to me. If anything I'm offering is helpful, if it's insightful to you, let me know. If it's bothering you, maybe if it frustrated you and it kind of made you angry, let me know why. Maybe there's something in there that we can talk about that brings up, another problem. It could be that you're being frustrated because what I'm pointing out here pins you in a specific position where you actually can't do anything. Hey, there's another spot for root cause analysis. Let's figure out what's pinpointing you down there. It might be something where you get your hands tied and can't do anything. That's not your fault. A lot of things lead people to be pinned and end up being a shock absorber for something they have no control over. That is not your fault, and that can be rectified. Whether or not it will be rectified is a different story, but it can be. I appreciate you guys. You guys have a good day, okay? Have a good week.